reception last night, eh? At your call. Oh, brilliant. It's a special place, that.
Yeah,
Place.
yeah.
David Alorka back with Gareth A. Davies. Where are we and what are we doing, Gareth?
We're in a very crowded press room here at Canary Wharf for the main press conference ahead of the box office show between VASYL Lomachenko and Luke Campbell for pretty much the entire lightweight belts, the Ring Magazine belt, almost everything. So much at stake. A very high risk, high reward fight for Luke Campbell against the guy in VASYL Lomachenko, who's regarded as the number one, more widely regarded as the number one pound-for-pound boxer in the world right now. 400 amateur fights, 1 loss, 2 Olympic gold medals, 14 fights, and a 3-weight world champion.
Steven Spielberg's given us the old wind-up because we've got the one and only Mr. Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's about to begin. I don't want to pre-curse him, of course, so I better go quiet.
Guys, we'll be back with you shortly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the final press conference for what will be one of the big boxing events of the year this Saturday night at the O2 Arena in London. A spectacular undercard. You've all seen the names of Buatsi and Edwards, and we've got Fury versus Povetkin in a dynamite heavyweight contest. And at the top, a main event the world has been waiting for, an outstanding contest. The drama is there as 2 Olympic gold medal champions who captured Olympic gold here in London in 2012 are going to face each other as challenger and champion. 2 of the most prolific promoters in the world of boxing have gotten together to put this together. The godfather of boxing, Hall of Famer Bob Arum and his Top Rank Incorporated, and your promoter, Mr. Eddie Hearn from Matchroom Boxing. And at this time, let me turn it over to Mr. Eddie Hearn.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was Team Lomachenko down there giving me a clap. That's a bit worrying. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. And thank you for joining us again for our second press conference today. It's a great time for boxing. Last week, we broke the attendance record in Hermosillo, 12,000 people attending the Juan Estrada fight. This week, 18,000 people at the sold-out O2 Arena for what I believe is one of the major moments for British boxing. A chance to welcome the current pound-for-pound champion VASYL Lomachenko to defend his unified world titles, along with the WBC title, of course, the WBO, the WBA, the Ring Magazine World Championships, against the greatest amateur Britain's ever produced in Olympic gold medalist Luke Campbell at the O2 Arena. We've seen the undercard. It is stellar. It's a brilliant night of boxing, and it's an honour to promote this show, not just live on Sky Sports box office, but across America with ESPN+. And thank you as always to Bob Arum and his top-ranked team, Brad and Carl, and everybody that's done such a great job in putting this together. Thank you for both fighters for the access to the media. This is a major, major event worldwide and a huge opportunity for British boxing and a huge opportunity to Luke Campbell to produce a performance that will stun the world and become the unified lightweight world champion. Before we hear from everybody at the table, I'm going to quickly pass over to the head of Sky Sports Boxing, Adam Smith.
Thanks. I think you've hit the nail on the head, Eddie. It is a magnificent occasion. It really is for all of us involved in boxing, for all of us at Sky. We've been covering the sport since the early 90s. We've had some wonderful fighters over here. You know, in recent times, Gennady Golovkin when he fought Kell Brook. We had Errol Spence up in Sheffield. I think back to the days of Mike Tyson when people in Brixton were hanging out of windows just to get a sighting of him, and we took him up to Glasgow as well. To have VASYL Lomachenko back in London in the place where he won his Olympic gold, or his second Olympic gold, is a treat. It really is. And it's a treat for fight fans, as we saw at the incredible atmosphere that York Hall normally provides on a fight night, but at a workout yesterday, and I'm sure VASYL was really touched by that. He's a special fighter. You don't have nearly 400 amateur bouts and lose just one of them and then beat the guy twice, and then look what he's done as a professional. You know, a multi-weight world champion in just a sprinkling of pro fights. He's got absolutely everything. But Luke Campbell was our best amateur of all time. We've watched him since he was a teenager. He's a fantastic talent in his own right. As a professional, he's gone over to LA. He did extremely well against Jorge Linares. We followed his career on Sky from the very beginning. Not just a lovely guy, he's a great fighter in his own right. And he carries some height and some reach, some strength in there. Of course, he's seen as a massive underdog, and it would be a monumental shock. But I know that Shane McGuigan and his tight team, with George in there as well, George Groves and Barry, and all that experience, they believe in Luke. Luke seemed relaxed to me all the way through the build-up. He's in a great place mentally and physically, and I'm sure he will give absolutely everything on Saturday night. Will it be enough to dethrone the Matrix? I don't know. We don't know. But I tell you what, it is a pleasure to have Mr. Lomachenko and his team here in London. It's going to be an amazing night on Saturday, sold out. As Eddie was saying earlier, people like Nassim Hamid wanting tickets, Vladimir Klitschko, Alexander Usyk, of course, Vasyly's friend. Everybody wants to be ringside to witness a great moment in British boxing history. Can Luke Campbell achieve what will probably be the biggest upset in British boxing history? It's a massive ask, but I know he's up for the challenge, and I know Vasyl Lomachenko is up to show us what he's all about. So we can't wait at Sky. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Adam. I'd love to pass over now to the Hall of Fame promoter, Bob Arum, to say a few words. Bob, welcome. Pleasure to have you here. Looking forward to a great show on Saturday.
Thank you very much, Eddie. You know, people say in boxing that an English fighter doesn't really become important on the world stage until he goes over and fights in America. Well, I would say to them that they may or may not be true. But for those people in America and around the world who know about boxing, a fighter doesn't become a world-class fighter until he fights in the UK. Now, Adam mentioned two fighters who fought for other promotions, Americans who came over here, Mike Tyson, Errol Spence, and they made their bones fighting in the UK. Top rank, we've had a whole string of fighters who came over here and made their name. The great Muhammad Ali, when he was in effect forced out of the country, came over here, fought Henry Cooper for the second time, then fought Brian London, and reestablished himself on the world stage. And after Ali, Marvelous Marvin Hagler came over here and defeated Minter and became the greatest middleweight of his era. And there was Donald Curry, who came over here and fought Colin Jones. And it goes on and on and on. Bud Crawford came over here and defeated Ricky Burns to win his first world title. And VASYL Lomachenko, who obviously is not an American, he's a Ukrainian, but has had all his fights, virtually all his fights, in the United States, now comes over to the UK, which really is the country that is most passionate and knowledgeable about the sport of boxing to exhibit his talents before the UK audience. And so, Eddie, we are, on behalf of VASYL Lomachenko, Igis Klimas, we're grateful for the opportunity to be over here, to be fighting in this championship match, particularly against a world-class fighter like Luke Campbell, an Olympic gold medalist, one of the premier fighters in the UK. It should be a great, great night Saturday night.
Thank you, Bob. Much appreciated. We're going to go to Team Campbell now. Shane McGuigan firstly. Shane, the build-up nearly done. We knew this was a huge task. You and Luke have seemed incredibly calm throughout the whole build-up. Camp gone well, ready for a huge night on Saturday.
Yeah, camp's gone fantastically well. He's had Josh Taylor in sparring, a world champion in the weight division above. They've done nearly 100 rounds together. He couldn't be in a better place. You know, it's going to be always hard to prepare for a guy as unique as VASYL Lomachenko, but I believe this is Lomachenko's hardest fight. You know, we're coming off the best form. He's huge for the weight. He could move up to 140. He's that big of a frame, and he's boiled into the weight, and he's punching extremely hard. And I believe he's at the peak of his career right now. Luke is, you know, and he's not the same fighter he was when that boxed Jorge Linares. He's improved. He's learnt from his losses, and I believe we're going to pose the biggest threat to Lomachenko come Saturday night.
What's the biggest test against Lomachenko. Everybody talks about, you know, that he's a genius, he's pound for pound number one. About getting that game plan right. Can you have a game plan against him? How you got to execute that on the night? What's the biggest challenges going into the weekend?
Well, he poses obviously so many threats, but I think his biggest attribute is his speed. And you know, we've had to bring in real fast amateur guys to sort of replicate that speed, but they're not going to be the same as Loma. But I think I've never seen Luke out of his depth with anyone. He's always in his comfort zone, and no matter who we put him in with, he rises to their ability level. And he's, as you said, Adam, he's the best amateur to come out of Great Britain. And I think you know, this is going to be a fight full of skill, full of power, full of, you know, technical movement and speed as well. So it's going to be one of the best boxing fights to be in a boxing ring in a long time in the UK.
Thanks, Shane. Luke Campbell, welcome. Again, so calm this week. You know, everybody's talking about this fight, sold out weeks ago. I'm expecting big pay-per-view numbers as well. For you, you seem like this is just another fight. I mean, I think people forget you had the pressure of the London Olympics. You won gold for Great Britain in London during that period. But this doesn't seem to have fazed you at all, this challenge.
No, obviously, I've been through a lot with having the experience of London Olympics. The crowds and the pressure of going out there and getting a medal and winning, and obviously in the professional career going over to America to fight Linares for a world title with everything what was going on as well. So you know, I've learned from my experiences, and I'm here today, and boy do I love a challenge. You know, this I've always said from for years being in boxing, to be the best you have to beat the best, and this is certainly one of those challenges.
He is an overwhelming favourite in this fight. People are talking this is almost the Lomachenko show. Does that take the pressure off? Does that make you smile? How do you see this fight? Obviously, you and Shane see this fight as a lot more of a close affair than some of the bookmakers as well. But just, you know what you have to do to beat him, and it's just about focusing on that strategy and that performance on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. I think you know, you can't go in there worrying about what someone else is going to do. You've got to go in there and concentrate on yourself, and that you're not making any mistakes, and you're the best person you can be on that night, and that's what we're doing.
Finally, people talk about how you beat VASYL Lomachenko. Is it a case of using your size and your power to pick those right moments and to take him out on Saturday night?
I think all elements will come into it in this fight. I think that will be an element, as well as, you know, the technical side of things and speed and everything else to go with it. I think to win this fight, all elements will have to come into play, but you know, I'm ready for it.
Again, said finally, but in the build-up to this fight, I remember we could have taken this fight in America. There was more money to do so. We spoke as a team. The fight to happen in the UK because you felt you could do it in the UK, and you felt you could go down in history by defeating Lomachenko in the UK. So this isn't about the money. This isn't about, you know, the fame. This is purely about success, achieving, and going down as a true great if you win on Saturday night.
Most definitely. You know, there is no better fans than the UK fans. They just give the best atmosphere, and I'm excited to bring this fight and be part of this fight here in the UK. And yeah, I want to perform and entertain and give them a great night.
Thank you, Luke. We pass to Team Loma. Aegis first, our good friend, partners with Alexander Usyk and other fighters as well. You've been to some fights now in the UK, number of fights. Obviously, you were here last for the Usyk-Tony Bellew fight. Just an incredible place to stage major fights.
Well, it's good afternoon to everybody. Well, it's a great place to be here in UK. I've been involved in a few events here, in the promotionals and not promotionals, just visiting big fights. Last one we were with Rivas fight. Not the big names, but still crowd is unbelievable, packed out. Joshua Povetkin, and of course I'm not talking about then Usyk, which I was involved in it, fighting Tony Bellew. And then a few years back, I had a Gradovich here fighting at the O2 Arena. So it's not for me kind of like a first time, but what I really wanted to do, I wanted to thank our promoters. I wanted to thank our promoter, Bob Arum. I wanted to thank Eddie Hearn to putting that fight together. Finally, it says the promoters can work together. It was at one point where for us, coming from a management side and from a fighters, where you cannot put fights together because two promoters cannot work together, two networks cannot work together, and this is a really hurting boxing, really hurting. Now looks like promoters finding a gold medal where they can work together, they can put a good matchups, good fights for the fans, which is, I think, the most important thing in this sport is the fans. Thank you very much to everybody, to promoters, to the networks, to media, for you guys putting that to the world. Let know who we are, and we'll see you Saturday night.
Thank you, Igis. Vasily, I know you always keep it short at the press conferences, so I'm going to try and give you as many questions as possible. Welcome, of course. And I know that coming to the Joshua fights and seeing the Usyk fights as well, it's always a big plan for you to box in the UK. You're excited ahead of Saturday night.
Of course, I'm excited, and I can't wait come to the ring and show my boxing skill for British fans and for fans around the world.
Obviously, you would have seen Luke Campbell on the amateur scene. You both won gold in London. You expect a tough fight, potentially one of the toughest of your career, against Luke Campbell on Saturday.
Maybe it will be harder fight for me, but I can answer after the fight. And Luke Campbell is not easy fighter. He is a top fighter. He is a smart fighter. He is technical fighter. So it will be very interesting and technical fight.
Finally, 18,000 people. We saw a lot of support for you last night. The atmosphere is going to be incredible. Are you excited? You ready? You ready to fight in front of the British fans on Saturday?
Of course I'm ready. Of course. That's why I come to UK.
Thanks for that, Vasily. We look forward to a great show on Saturday night. Luke Campbell, VASYL Lomachenko, WBC, WBO, WBA, Ring Magazine titles. This is one that will be remembered for a long, long time in British boxing. Where were you the night this fight took place? Well, you can't be at the O2 Arena, but you can be watching it live on Sky Sports Box Office. The weigh-in tomorrow, 1 p.m, Spitalfields Market. Is going to be absolutely packed down there as well, so get there nice and early. Thank you again to our team at Matchroom Boxing, to the top-ranked team, to Sky, to all the broadcasters here on Saturday night. Let's have a great night, and the two fighters will face off now in front of you. Thank you very much.